Hey everybody, it's me, Steve SCHNEE, the CD Junkie. On this episode of CD Junkie, I'm going to be talking about a band that I love to death, and I have loved them for, my goodness, it must be 35 years now. I'm talking about Simply Red, fronted by Mick Hucknall, one of the great, wonderful vocalists of our generation. I mean, just true passion just comes out in that voice. He can tackle pop, soul, blue-eyed soul, funk. Anyway, I like to start these videos off and tell you how I got into the band. Now, they're from Manchester, and Mick used to front a band called Frantic Elevators. Now, I was not a fan of Frantic Elevators, but I'd heard about them. And I didn't know what kind of music. I probably saw maybe a 7-inch single sitting in an import bin somewhere, or maybe I'd read about them written up in NME or Melody Maker or something. So I knew the name, but it wasn't until 1985 when Frantic Elevators had split and Mick Hucknall formed a British soul R&B pop band called Simply Red and released the album Picture Book. Now, I heard this because I worked in a record store at the time, and we would always put on new records by people. So I put this on, and I thought, wow, come to my aid. That sounds pretty good. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. You know, Money's Too Tight to Mention. And then, of course, Holding Back the Years. And that was the first song that hit big in America here. So, of course, within a few months after hearing that album in the store, you could just hear Holding Back the Years blasted on the radio. Money's Too Tight to Mention actually got a decent amount of airplay as well. And I remember one day, this only happened one other time. I'd go into one record store and the song Jericho was playing. I go, oh my God, I love this song because it's on this album. Me and my buddies then went to another record store and Come to My Aid was playing. So that store was playing this album. And then maybe 2 or 3 hours later, we're in another record store, and they throw on the album. So you knew it was really connecting with a lot of people. And this is a CD version that contains bonus tracks and a bonus DVD. 1985 Picture Book. This is probably the album that everybody got into them on. And I'm not sure you've all followed the career since then, but there's definitely a lot of things worthwhile. 1987, they release Men and Women. This is a couple songs co-written by Lamont Dozier. I think that's how you pronounce his name, from Holland Dozier Holland, the great Motown team, or it could be Dozier. I don't know. It's the last time I'm going to say his name. But anyway, songs on this album, or in my opinion, highlights include The Right Thing, Infidelity, Suffer, and Infidelity and Suffer were co-written by Lamont. I'll just say his first name. But Men and Women, that came out in 1987. 1989, out comes A New Flame. This is the album with If You Don't Know Me By Now. And I'll tell you, their version of If You Don't Know Me By Now is, in my opinion, 10 times better than the Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes version. And I love that version. But, man, Mick Hucknall just has a voice. And when he connects and he grabs onto that song and just holds on for dear life, and man, there's so much passion in there. But, other tracks in this album, other good tracks, highlights to me include It's Only Love, You've Got It, Turn It Up, and that's the bonus edition right there. Took another 2 years, and out comes the absolutely brilliant, from beginning to end, Stars. This album contains no cover versions. It's all written by Mick Hucknall, and it is a brilliant album. This is the 2 CD plus DVD version, bonus, and it is truly amazing. The song on this album, like, you know, some of my favorites are like Stars. I especially love Your Mirror, Thrill Me, For Your Babies is great. Just lots of great stuff on this. This is an absolutely brilliant album. They sort of brought in some of the then modern dance rhythms, you know, a little bit of house. You know, the whole Manchester scene, I think, was maybe starting to infiltrate pop music, or maybe this was before that. But anyway, Stars is an absolutely brilliant Simply Red album. And Stars had so many hit singles that it took another 4 years for them to release the album Life, which is kind of a letdown. There's still some great songs on this, but when you come off of a thing like Stars, It's really hard for any band. I didn't go into this album thinking it was going to be Stars Part 2 because Mick Hucknall hasn't done that yet. He hasn't just repeated the formula. But this is a very different album. It's kind of very rhythmic. It sounds like some of the songs were written based around rhythms as opposed to, hey, here's a hook or here's a great melody line. I'm going to write a song around this. This did have some, big hit singles on it. In fact, Fairground was a #1 single in England. I think there was 4 top 40 songs on this total. But other songs like You Make Me Believe or Never Never Love, So Beautiful. Anyway, that is Simply Red Life, 1995. Took another 3 years until the brilliant, in my opinion, Blue album. Absolutely stunning album. Say You Love Me is on this. Someday in My Life. Great version of The Air That I Breathe. A great version of Night Nurse, which is a Gregory Isaac song. Blue is a great song. Love Has Said Goodbye Again. Great song. And as you can tell, this has bonus tracks. And that was 1998. A year later. We only had to wait a year. And this is an album that I don't hear anybody talking about. In fact, I very rarely saw this in the bins. But Simply Red, Love and the Russian Winter. Another fine album, very song-oriented. It's not a remake of the Blue album, but it does go in great directions. There's pop, there's soul, and Mick's songwriting is top-notch. His voice is top-notch. And this is a version with bonus tracks, of course. And then it took another 4 years before Home came out. What a brilliant album this is. The title track is great. Fake is great. Sunrise is fantastic. It uses a sample and some bits and pieces from the Hall & Oates song, I Can't Go For That, No Can Do. It's just a great record. And You Make Me Feel Brand New with Mick Hucknall's got such a great voice that he does both the low part and the falsetto part, and it's just brilliant. It's wonderful. And the version of Bob Dylan's Positively 4th Street on this is probably the best Dylan cover I've heard. Stop throwing tomatoes at me, guys. But this is a 3 CD and a DVD version. Look at all that bonus material. Every time I listen to this, I feel like it's Christmas again. Great record. The next album was Simplified, and this came out in 2005. This is a 2 CD DVD version, and what this is he went into the studio and kind of rearranged and re-recorded some old Simply Red classics. There's a couple songs that have never been released before that are on this, and then there's a bonus CD with mixes and live versions and stuff. But Something Got Me Started and Holding Back the Years, Your Mirror, Fairground. These are songs that some of the songs he added like a Latin rhythm to, so you can do the salsa or the cha-cha-cha while you listen to it. I mean, it's not that radical, but it's a fun record. So Simply Red, Simplified. 2007, and out comes the album Stay. Just the opening track alone is worth it. The World and You Tonight is just a wonderful, wonderful song. This is a 2 CD DVD version. And this contains, So Not Over You, Stay. Oh, Little Englander is another favorite there. And that is Simply Red, Stay. That's the 2 CD and a DVD version. And then that was it. Simply Red split up after that album. Mick Hucknall returned with Tribute to Bobby, which is a Tribute to Bobby Blue Bland album. This came out in 2008 because Mick Hucknall is a big blues and soul singer, and of course Bobby Blue Bland. Say that 10 times fast. Bobby Blue Bland, blah blah. Never mind. But that's a fine collection there because Mick Hucknall, like I said, really great voice. Took another 4 years, and out comes American Soul, which is more cover versions by Mick Hucknall. There he is singing his heart out. There's the back of the CD right there. But the songs he covers on this is like I'd Rather Go Blind, I Only Have Eyes for You, Tell It Like It Is, Baby What You Want Me to Do. I mean, you can read them all there. It's Impossible, Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. That's a great collection there. And then for their 30th anniversary, Mick Hucknall brought Simply Red back together, and out comes the album Big Love. Great return to form, great songwriting. He sounds as great as ever. But like Shine On and Daydreaming, Big Love, Ghost of Love, Dad, lots of great songs on this. It's not a wasted reunion. It's not one of those albums where you just go, they should have stayed broken up. No, I'm glad. So that's Simply Red, Big Love. That came out 2015. That was followed 4 years later, the end of 2019, with Blue Eyed Soul. And this album goes from being a disco-y, funky, soulful album to some great mid-tempo or slow songs. It's a potpourri of Blue Eyed Soul, funk, and pop. And there you go there. Sweet Child is absolutely wonderful. Complete Love. I mean, there's a lot of fun tracks on here. Some James Brown influences. But that is the latest album, and that's actually the last Simply Red album. I have one thing more that I wanted to share with you, and that's this Songs of Love compilation. This is, I think, the second compilation they released that was sort of love song oriented. This one actually has 2 new songs and 2 re-recordings. So it's definitely worth tracking that down if you want to get a complete Simply Red catalog. You know, there's a myriad of live releases and compilations. There's even this live album that was released about a decade ago, you know, during their farewell tour. But anyway, that's it. I just wanted to share some Simply Red discs with you. And I don't know if anyone out there is a fan, but I do appreciate you letting me sit here and chitter chatter and babble about Simply Red and about the music that I love. Remember to stay safe, stay healthy, and I need you to stick around so you can watch more of my videos and get my views up. In fact, speaking of that, remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I really appreciate you hanging out. So anyway, that's it from me, Steve SCHNEE, the CD Junkie.